We're going to take a break. When we come back, BJ Rudell, Fantasy Football for Winners, coming your way next here on the Sports Fix.
Public service announcement from the Sports Fix. We here at the Sports Fix and our affiliates would like to apologize for any disturbing verbal actions, but remember, it's better having them trapped in a box than loose on the streets. Public service announcement from the Sports Fix. The Sports Fix, the sports show that cares.
Guys, want to take just a second as we head into this break and remind you about the official business printing source of the Sports Fix, our friends at Signs and Ship. Signs and Ship, I'm telling you, Chris and Pam, they've taken care of me since day one, and they can do the same for you. Whether you're a small business that's already been established and you're looking to grow to that next level and expand your business, or perhaps you've got an idea that you just know is going to be a great business and you need to figure out how to brand it and how to promote it and put it out there, Signs and Ship is the place for you. If you need a logo, they can create one for you. They have a fantastic graphic designer. Business cards, signs, banners, yard signs, mobile advertising, anything you can think of that you need to promote your business, they've got it at Signs and Ship. The best thing about them, too, is each of their locations, whether it's the home base here in Elyria, Ohio that I work with, or their spots in Virginia, Florida, and Pennsylvania, it's all local sourced. Very important to me because we all understand that small business is the lifeblood of the community. So check them out, signsandship.com, or call Chris and Pam today, 440-323-6060, the home office in Elyria, Ohio. Signs and Ship, quality printing at affordable prices.
It's the Sports Fix. We'll be right back.
You love Cleveland, and you already know how much we love Cleveland. You know who else loves Cleveland? GV Art and Design. Everyday fans, you and I wear our pride on our sleeves. Now, you can wear your pride on your chest. GV Art and Design has one of the hottest Cleveland sporting lines. Log on right now to gvartwork.com. Check out all of their fantastic designs.
And don't forget, use the sales code FIX10, FIX10, to save 10% on your total purchase.
Follow gvartwork.com on Facebook, and remember, GV Art and Design, it's not just a shirt, it's a statement.
Sports Fix listeners, like us on Facebook today. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix.
Hey everybody, listen up.
Listen up, guys.
Hey guys, listen up.
No one should ever hit a woman.
Not their wife, not their girlfriend, not their date. No woman should have to fear violence.
Especially not from someone they know and trust.
But that's the reality for too many women.
We have to change it.
It's up to each of us, because even one is too many.
Violence against women hurts all of us. Growing up, I was ashamed and afraid of my father when he abused my mom.
The worst abuse of power is when a man raises his hand to hurt a woman. We all have to take responsibility. So if you see someone threatening a woman, step up.
Speaking violence hurts all of us.
One is too many.
Is too many.
Because one is too many.
Hey Cleveland, this is Tristan Thompson of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you're listening to Sports Fix.
I dig it. Go cool and at a bar, and I'm looking for some action, but like big satisfaction. The girls are all around.
Tone Loc, you get to me. Welcome back. J-Rock with you here as we roll on across the Sports Fix Radio Network. Thank you, Slate.com, for joining us. Kendall Lewis, the BSK, earlier in the first hour. Been a great show, and we continue to roll on. My man, BJ Rudell, Fantasy Football for Winners, getting ready to come up next on the hotline. We'll get you all set for the Week 5 slate of action that begins tonight. Fantasy football, baby, every week. And you know what? Each week I see a tweet with BJ on Twitter, and you guys interact with him there. But each week people reach out and go, hey, man, I was glad I listened. I grabbed this guy or I did this thing or that. Hey, man, one little tip is all it takes to separate you week to week, and that's why we love to do it. 1:30 every Thursday. BJ's here. Matter of fact, he's here right now. Let's go to the phone lines. You guys can't call yet. I'm opening them next. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix CLE. Email us, The Sports Fix at AOL.com. Phone lines. BJ Rudell. Fantasy football for winners. BJ, how you doing this week?
Great, J-Rock. How are you doing?
I'm great. As always, we're here. We're rolling, man. Glad to have you. Another week. You know, that's the fun part, man. And I'll tell you what, last week was a frustrating week for me, man. Just as I thought, okay, man, I'm turning the corner. I'm getting things turned around. I'm going to hit 500 here. You know, I hit one of those games where you just barely lose, and those stick with you. And there was nothing I could have done. That's the ones that are worse, where you know nothing you could have changed would have made a difference. But you know, at the end of the day, watching that final game, it was the Sunday night game that did me in. And I'm watching. He had the defense. Who was now I got to pull it up to remember. But his defense was getting toasted, losing points as the game went on. And I'm like, man, if you're for me, he had the Saints defense, and they ended up at -5 by the time it's done. So I'm watching this score get closer and closer. What did me in was the fact that I had two running backs that combined for 5 points in Carlos Hyde and Alfred Blue because Zach Stacy was on his bye week, and I did not have any other viable options, which is a position you don't want to be in, obviously.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, running back is one of those positions that if you're in your shoes and you start two backups where the starters are starting, you know, your window of opportunity is very, very narrow.
So let me start there, and let me ask you, because I made a couple of tweaks this week, and I think I may have unearthed a few guys. Tell me where you're at. Anton Smith for Atlanta, a guy who, with the limited opportunities that he's gotten, and he seems to have been ahead of Freeman and Rodgers so far in the backup rotation, but he does have that home run ability, man, and last week he was able to do that. He had a 50-yard touchdown. Passing, obviously, not going to help you as much, but among the backups, he seems to be one that is worth a flyer there in the fan. Especially, I've got Al Blue, but with Foster, you know, playing now, that's going to diminish him until that situation changes. And Carlos Hyde is never going to get more than a couple of points as long as it looked like Gore may be breaking down. Instead, he's going the other way, and he's getting stronger.
Yeah, I would. Here's the thing about Smith. The guy is averaging about 2 or 3 carries a game, you know, maybe about 4 carries a game on the season. And there's always a risk, you know, when you're starting a guy where they need one big play. And if they don't get that one big play, you're going to be stuck with 1 point. So I encourage people actually, and, you know, Smith is 29 years old. He's on the downside of a career that he hasn't done much in. He finally has a second life in this Atlanta system, where for years he was really not doing much in the game. I think he was on defense, now that I think about it. But, you know, he's a very, very, very risky play, and I would honestly recommend going with, maybe check in, you know, last minute to see if Arian Foster will definitely play, because last I heard is that he was non-committal, and that kind of thing can get very tricky when it comes to a hamstring injury, so that might change as the week goes on. Theo Riddick in Detroit could get some touches if Joique Bell is out with a concussion. They're not going to hand it to Reggie Bush for 20 carries. That's not what Bush does best. Theo Riddick could play a bigger role in a good offense. Darren Reeves in Carolina should be the starter, with D'Angelo Williams, Jonathan Stewart, Mike Tolbert not available. That's not an offense that moves the ball great, but it's a good enough offense that Darren Reeves has a chance to get 5, 6, 7 points if they keep feeding him the ball. So those are some guys I think, you know, beyond the guys who everyone already knows about now, like the Jerick McKinnons of the world. You know, these are some guys who might offer some more consistent, reliable 5 to 7 point value if a few things break their way.
So where would you go? Would you? I've got Blue. I've got Carlos Hyde, and I've got Smith. I mean, seriously, I've got 3 backups and a starter amongst my running backs here, man. So help a brother out, man.
I thought
about going Sean Green. Here's the problem when you have a rooting allegiance is it starts to involve itself in your fantasy football. I have no interest.
Sure.
Sean Green's available, but I have no interest in starting a guy against the Browns. You know what I mean? Like that's just to me that's the bad part of fantasy sports is you're watching your team play and going, well, I guess if the other guy, no, it's not okay for Sean Green to get yards.
That's right. You don't want to get caught with emotion. Of a team that you root for, an emotion of your own team that you've created. That doesn't mix well. Sean Green is not. He is what he is. Sean Green is I wrote about him about 3 weeks ago now in Sports Illustrated. That he was not long for this fantasy world. That he was a guy who it's only a matter of time before Bishop Sankey took over. There's no reason to start a guy like Green. What I would rather have is quantity in a case where I'm desperate. I'd rather have a guy who I know is going to get 10 to 12 touches at least and hope that he gets something in the goal line and gets me 6 points because that's the only way I'm going to have a good game with one of those guys than a guy who's going to get maybe 3-4 touches and you hope that he strikes gold on one of those because the chance of that happening, let's say for Smith, 3 straight weeks is very, very, very low.
No, absolutely. I mean, my thing with him is I noticed that 3 of the 4 weeks he had hit double digits, and I'm like, but again, you're right. It's hit or miss. I mean, you're getting the fastball down the middle. You either hit it out of the park or nothing happens because he had that 1 week where he had the whiff of of no points at all. I'm with you on that, man. Another guy that I'll tell you what, and I was amazed when I saw it that 88% of the ESPN still had him, and a large percentage was still playing him too. Danny Amendola has done absolutely nothing here, and he's way pushed down. He's not getting any looks. I mean, the one time Brady threw at him last week, it was picked off because they had miscommunication. And I held on to him for the first few weeks because, traditionally he's going to grab you a bunch of catches in a PPR league, and you're like, okay. But he's done absolutely nothing, so I dumped him out. Actually, John Brown, what do you think about him? He's another guy like Smith. Limited, he's not going to get, obviously, as much as some of the other guys, but he has been making the most of what he's done. He's got 3 touchdowns so far this season, and his workload has increased each week. He caught 2 passes, then 3 passes, then 4. His targets have gone up 5, 6, 7. So I think he was targeted 6 times. But again, he caught 4 out of 6. So if you don't do that, it's a bad week. But he's also explosive. So what do you think about John Brown in his situation?
He's huge. John Brown, I drafted him in one of my 2 leagues. I had him ranked in my top 250 list that I sent around to folks when I offered it up on Twitter and my Facebook blog, and people jumped on it to try to get the top 250 list because, I believe that my top 250 can go toe-to-toe with ESPN's any day. Last year I actually had more accurate in the top 10 of positions, positional players than ESPN did. And I had John Brown right there in the top 250. I'm looking it up right now as we speak. He was number 145 overall. And I think a lot of people would have thought that was crazy at the time. But I backed it up. I drafted him in one of my leagues. He's the real deal. He is the heir apparent to Larry Fitzgerald in the sense that it's going to be the Michael Floyd, John Brown show potentially next year. The problem in Arizona is that if Carson Palmer is not starting, Drew Stanton forces everyone to take a hit. And there's no sign that Carson Palmer is going to come back anytime soon. He's still having some discomfort. And I'm worried about a guy like John Brown. I'll put it this way. I'm as high on John Brown as ever in terms of what he can do. But unless they get a better quarterback there in Arizona, Brown, Floyd, and Fitzgerald are going to be fighting over one dinner plate every single game. And it used to be with Carson Palmer, there was enough to go around for all 3. Right now, 1 out of 3 is going to have a good game. The other 2 are going to be left in the dust.
Makes sense. So just my last personal fantasy question here. Who would you play as a flex then? Would you play Brown against Denver or keep Jordan Matthews rolling against the Rams?
I'd probably keep Jordan Matthews. I think Matthews is going to be one of those guys who's going to frustrate fantasy owners if they keep taking him out, putting him back in, taking him out. and so on. Jordan Matthews is the real deal. Riley Cooper, has been getting a lot of shots still, as the number 2 receiver. I think it's only a matter of time before Matthews gets more run. I know the coaching staff likes him in the middle of the field, a big body, in the slot. But Matthews is a terrific red zone target, and you're going to get sometimes 4 points out of him, and other times you're going to get 15. And I think as a rookie, that's to be expected. But I'd much rather have Matthews in that offense, given the credibility. Nick